Hello and welcome back to the shop. I'm Carson with Tool Legit, and I am going to show you what it takes to make these economical MDF souvenirs. The last video we made, we went over how to make these hardwood trivets, but today we're going to be focusing on a different product line that we have, which again is these fun colored wall hanging decorations. So what we have is an MDF base, and the first step that we're going to have to do with this is that we're going to have to get it to the proper width. We're not too concerned about the length, but we are very concerned about the width, and that is because we're going to be doing not only a front side engraving, but we're also going to be doing some machining on the back side, and we call that two-sided operation. In order to do that, you have to take your material and you have to flip it over. And if the width isn't just right, then your keyhole or your rear engravings are going to be shifted to one side or to another. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to rip off the little bit of excess that's on this to get it right down to 2 foot wide. And then we're going to go ahead and throw 2 coats of paint on this item. And we're going to be painting this particular piece in this nice forest green, but as you can see, we have other colors as well, like blue. So stick around with me and we're going to go ahead and go through the process.
Okay, here we are busting out the trusty track saw.
Now hold on, before you begin, I can already hear the comment section lighting up. Carson, have you no dignity? This is MDF. Well, I do have a shred of dignity, and it's found in this. I have tried about every material possible to make this product. I've done Baltic birch, or they call that a Russian ply. It's well over twice the cost of this material, and it doesn't have the greatest results just because within the different plies, sometimes there's a bit of chip out that takes place and you lose detail. So I'll throw a freeze frame of this, what I'm talking about, up, but in these areas here, like around the whiskers and things like that, you just get a lot of tear out. And it really just makes for a poor looking product. Standard hardwood that I get from a dealer wouldn't really be a good option either because it's just so thick and it's really cost prohibitive. And who wants to paint hardwood? Sheet goods are really the best option here to try to get like a volume product. So with that, I am going to be throwing some paint on this. I had mentioned it before, and it is a Behr product. It is a scuff defense. And I do it in a low sheen, like a flat. And I put 2 coats on it. It dries really quickly, and it just really holds up well. We're gonna go ahead and throw a couple coats on this, and then we're gonna transition to the machine and the software side of things.
All right, so we're throwing down our 2 coats of paint. Okay, now we're moving on to like the file setup. That's where we input the size of the material we're using and its thickness. And this is super important so that we make sure we get the proper depth of cut. Now I'm choosing the different images that we're going to be going ahead and engraving. And this took me about 14 minutes or so in the software, so I really cut it down to try to make it as quick as possible. And I hope it doesn't make anybody too dizzy, but this is the super cut of it.
All right, so now our MDF is painted, and as you can see, this again is a 2 by 4 foot chunk. You could most definitely do a 4 by 8 sheet, and that would be a lot better because there'd be a whole lot less tool changes. But for our purposes, we're just going to be doing a smaller piece here. And I want to just show you, if you haven't seen our other video where we make the trivets, I want you just to be aware of how it is that we attach these to the table, because it's so important that you get an even, consistent level on your MDF. And that's one of the beautiful things about the MDF too, is that it's really consistent on its thickness. There's not a bunch of waves inside of it. So when you're engraving, if you're engraving and you have something that has a big wave or a dip in it, that bit, if it's a low spot, isn't going to make contact, and on a high spot, it's going to really gouge. So MDF is just a really good choice for that as well. So I'm going to throw this on the table, introduce some vacuum to this, and just show you what that system looks like. If we could get the vacuum turned on, then we can see it did draw it down a little bit in the corner right here. And as you can see here, I physically can't move it. Now I could reach and lift it, but I can't, and that would be a challenge too. but I can't move it, and it's nice and flat the whole length of the material. So I have my blue piece of MDF face down here because we're going to be doing all of our operations from the backside first, and then we're going to flip the product over and we're going to do all of our V carving, our which is the engraving. We're going to do the round over, and then we'll do the profile cut that releases it from the actual board itself into the individual pieces. There's a lot of steps that are involved with this, and I'd encourage you, if you haven't already, to go check out another video I have that is on our hardwood trivets, because I kind of go through a little bit more step by step. After each bit change, I do have to re-zero down to the bit height, because inevitably when you change a bit out, you change the height that that bit is located inside of its collet. So I'm not going to walk through all that here, but you will see that as I go ahead and do this kind of in a time lapse and a fast forward type setup.
Okay, so here we're changing out to a 1/4 inch end mill to make that pilot for the keyholes. And then after all of the zeroing, we go ahead and change out to the keyhole bit. And really, it's only traveling upward about 1/2 of an inch.
The backside is complete. It all went pretty well. And now we're gonna flip it over, do some bit changes, and again, do the V carving and cut it on out. So here we go.
All right, now we're on to the V carving. We're using a 90-degree V bit. So this tool path does take a lot of time. It took over an hour for this to take place, and it's really a rewarding time, even though it is time consuming, because you're really starting to see your product come to life. So sit back and enjoy. So after our engraving with that V bit, we change over to a round over bit, and this one goes pretty quickly, and it's really going to show us that outside of what our product is going to be here. The cutout's definitely the most terrifying, because you just don't know if your product is going to fail or not. This is really the make or break moment inside this file.
So we're gonna see if these cut all the way through. And I think they got close if they didn't go all the way through. Oh boy. They're not that close. Some sanding will be required. That's a big old mess right there. That's what that is. Oh my goodness.
Sanding to get rid of just a little bit of material that was left on the product when it came off the machine bed. And boy, do I wish the sanding actually took place this quickly. As all of you would probably know, it's one of the woodworker's least favorite tasks in the necessary items to do to make a project come to life. But here it is, and it is pretty messy with all that MDF dust.
They all cut out pretty nice. There was a little bit more of an onion skin left over around the perimeter that needed to be sanded off that I wasn't really anticipating for. So next time I'm just gonna have to set my Z height so that it cuts a little bit deeper, but also not so deep that it doesn't damage our spoil board too prematurely. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these flipped over, and we're gonna use the branding iron, as it should be hot now.
All right, now here we're going to just do our branding on the back, and I would say yes, it would be easier to have a laser, but we don't have one of those at this point, and this gives a pretty rustic, unique look to the back of the project.
And there you have it. We went from raw MDF to completed Souvenir. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe as I go to try to make a few more videos to kind of show you some of these different things we're making here in the shop. And also, if anyone's interested, you could also post in the comments if you'd like to know more about some of the spoil board information, or kind of the machine or the machine maintenance or anything like that. Have a great day. Thank you from Tool Legit.